Okay, so if anybody is not hearing me or anything, now is the time to actually say, if you are not hearing me, I need to get some sort of acknowledgement from students that they are hearing me. I get reports from the other teachers pertaining to attendance, etc. So I know that some of you have been attending your other classes, which is commendable. And we need to see a good feedback with pertaining to doing assignments as well, right? So if you all can make some sort of effort to complete assignments, it would only benefit you in the long run. If you have any problems with the teaching, or if you have any problems with the assignments or any explanations, you can also let me know. You could post it on the group chat if you want, or you could let me know privately. So again, I just want to make sure that everybody is hearing me before I continue.
Miss, if you could repeat the heading, please.
The heading is Social Accounting and International Trade. Social Accounting and International Trade. So your first subheading would be Standard of Living. Standard of living. Next line. The government.
Social accounting.
Social accounting and international trade. Your first subheading would be Standard of Living. Standard of Living. So of course you follow all the conventions of writing notes. So for subheadings, you try to highlight it or underline it, etc. This would only help you to actually get to your answers easier when doing past papers or doing any form of revision. Okay? So after standard of living, next line, the government carries out its main responsibilities in order to ensure that citizens have access to the wealth of the country. Full stop. The citizens must also be able to enjoy the many benefits, to be derived, D-E-R-I-V-E-D, derived from this wealth. All right, so tell me if you are hearing me still, or if you are hearing me clearer, please. Are you all hearing me still?
Yes, miss.
Are you hearing me clearer, Chelsea? I think because of the weather, it could be anybody's Wi-Fi, but if you're not hearing me at all, or if it's still breaking up, I can keep switching the device that is used for the microphone to see if you would be able to hear better. All right. Of course. Okay, so we continuing to a new paragraph. So the last word was wealth, full stop. We go into a new paragraph. The term standard of living, the term standard of living refers to those factors, that indicate a country's wealth, comma, refers to those factors that indicate a country's wealth, comma, that is, comma, the quantity of goods and services consumed, comma, the quantity of goods and services consumed, comma, including quality of food, including quality of food, and type of houses, including quality of food and type of houses, full stop. Indicators of a country's, indicators of a country's,
Is that the type of houses?
full stop. Indicators of a country's standard of living include, indicators of a country's standard of living include, hold on. Next line, first point. Level of consumption. So I will repeat that. We had indicators of countries' standard of living include colon, next line first point, level of consumption of goods and services. Next line, next point. Average disposable income. Average disposable income of the population. Next line, next point. Now, if I'm calling too fast so you need me to repeat anything, just let me know, okay? Next line, next point. Level of national ownership. Level of national ownership of capital equipment. Next line, next point. Access to modern technology. Access to modern technology. Next line, next point. Level of investment. Level of investment in research and technology. I want you to skip a couple of lines as another subheading, quality of life. Quality of life. As another subheading, quality of life. Again, let me know if you need me to repeat anything.
Miss Quality of Life is a subheading.
Yes, it is a subheading. Next line. The quality of life refers. The quality of life refers to the extent to which the population enjoys the benefits of its wealth. I will repeat that, to which the population enjoys the benefits of its wealth. Same point. Indicators of a country's quality of life are. I will repeat that. Indicators of a country's quality of life are, colon, next line, first point. Extent of security involved. Extent of security involved. In brackets, level of crime. So that will be in the same point. Extent of security involved, in brackets, level of crime. Next line, next point. Availability of health. Availability of health. Comma, same point, educational, and recreational facilities. Availability of health, comma, educational and recreational facilities. Next line, next point. Diet and nutrition. Diet and nutrition. Next line, next point. Life expectancy. Life expectancy. Next line, next point. Rate of infant mortality. Rate of infant mortality. Next line, next point. Access to public utilities, comma, access to public utilities, comma, such as electricity, and potable water, potable, P-O-T-A-B-L-E, potable water. So that just means drinking water, okay? So, or pipe-on water. So we'll just go back to those definitions a little bit before we move forward. So that will give you a little chance to take a rest on the hands as well. So basically, social accounting and international trade, it started off with dealing with standard of living and quality of life. Okay, now a lot of students may get confused between the two. It is easy to get confused between the two because both of them basically would be addressing situations and how well our particular country is doing in terms of wealth. Okay, but really standard of living deals with the country's wealth. Okay, so the term standard of living refers to the factors that indicates the country's wealth. All right, so consumption of goods and services. Consumption is just a word in principles of business that you should get accustomed to by now, which means like buying goods and services, the purchasing of goods and services. So consumption can mean eating, but in principles of business, obviously it would mean purchasing, okay, of goods and services. So how much people are actually going out into different business establishments and spending money would be an indication of the wealth of a country. So standard of living measures really or indicates the country's wealth. And this is one point. Average disposable income of the population. And when we talk about disposable income, again, the word disposable would indicate something to throw away. But disposable in this case and principles of business would mean your extra income, which is not needed to purchase things that are basically necessities in your life, okay? Like food, clothing, water, healthcare, etc. So disposable income could be what you would save, what you would use on entertainment, etc. So average disposable income of the population. All right, so that will indicate wealth. So it would mean that people are not just surviving, but they are actually doing things that may be enjoyable to themselves as well. So level of national ownership of capital equipment, right? So basically, the national ownership of capital equipment could be the state-owned enterprise, the ownership of their capital equipment would mean like their plants, their land, how much land they own, and different manufacturing industries and all the equipments in it, etc. Okay, so that will indicate wealth as well. Access to modern technology, level of investment in research and technology. So some of these things might be a little bit missing from our society, not so? Like level of investment in research and technology, because we depend on foreign technology for most of our things. Okay, so our standard of living, where it can be measured at somewhat high because we are what you would call a developing nation, right? So we are not developed and we are not necessarily a lesser developed or third world nation, although some people may categorize any nation that isn't United States, etc., as third world nation, but we are really categorized as a developing nation because of the amount of development, industries, foreign direct investment, our standard of living, etc. Okay. However, quality of life refers to the extent to which a population enjoys the benefits of its wealth. So a country can actually generate a lot of wealth through the oil and gas sector, through tourism, through the manufacturing sector, etc. Okay, right? However, how much does the people of our country or any country actually benefit from the wealth? And indicators of that, and I want you, when we're going through any indicators, for you to think about your own country, which is right. So the extent of security, so the level of crime, right? So are we actually, is our wealth directed at level of crime? Is there a reduction, more police on the street, more policing, more detective work, more court cases, all these different things happening to actually solve crime, prevent crime, preventative crime measures like patrolling in communities and all these different things, because all of these things would require manpower, more hiring of police, more purchasing of vehicles, etc., more building of police stations, and the whole mobility and access to it all, okay? Right? Also advertising, making sure that people are aware of all the different hotline numbers and how to access the police service in case of emergency, right? So you're thinking about your own country in this extent. So you're trying to build a relationship in your mind so that some of these things you would be able to remember as well. Availability of health, education, and recreational facilities. So you're thinking again about your own community and you are thinking, how easy is it to access health? If something should happen, would it be easy for you to find a doctor, right? Would it be easy for you to find free healthcare, free education? How close is your educational institution, or are there other educational institutions from kindergarten to primary level to secondary to even tertiary level? How close is it to you, right? Recreational facilities. Do you have recreational facilities in your community like recreational grounds, community centers, all these different things? Diet and nutrition. Does our population have access to a proper diet and nutrition? Would you be able to go into the grocery, etc., and be able to access a proper things that would indicate that, okay, I would be able to, and would people be able to afford these things, or is it there for only the wealthy people? Life expectancy. In Trinidad and Tobago, how old would an individual be expected to live? How old would a person in Trinidad and Tobago be expected to live? Anybody have any indication of that? I mean, we are not basically from the Ministry of Health or anything, but do you all have any ideas? What is a possible life expectancy of a person in Trinidad?
Miss 70, 70, 70 something.
Yes, I believe so, right? So possibly 70 something, okay? So our life expectancy is fairly decent, right? And how is that possible, right? Life expectancy is also based on things like proper nutrition, healthcare, etc. Okay, because a lot of people start suffering from chronic diseases from very young, and most of the population start to suffer from some sort of chronic disease, possibly by the age of 40 and over. But how are they able to not get a heart attack or die from diabetes and all these different things? Is because of our healthcare system. It sort of helps to preserve these people for a certain duration of time as as compared to before. Okay, right? Rate of infant mortality. Did we miss out something? All right. Yeah, rate of infant mortality, because believe it or not, possibly in the last century or so, in the 20th century, in the early 20th century or so, a lot of people would have said, would have had a lot of, we wouldn't want to say miscarriages, but more like stillbirths, all right? So they would have a lot of infant mortality. This is what they are referring to, or children would only live a certain period of time and die because of poor nutrition of the parents or lack of health care by the government. A lot of women would have had their children at home and not in a health facility, and would have had many children one after the next, possibly causing healthcare problems with the parent, the mother, while she's actually having these children year after year or every 2 years, etc. So sometimes people would say they have 9 children, but 3 or 4 died actually in childbirth. Okay, so but however, in our present society, very rare we hear about a child that is born dead, so to speak, or stillborn. Okay, it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, but there is a comparison as to say, well, how regular it happens. That is the indication, how regular it actually happens. Access to public utilities. So do we have things like water, electricity, potable water? Well, potable water, water is a whole problem there by itself, but we fairly have, we are supposed to have access to it. Not so, electricity is fairly good, public utilities, etc. All right. So this is just something for you all to consider, and remember, standard of living measures wealth, quality of life would actually measure or refer to how people actually access the wealth. All right, so we are moving on to another subheading. Measurements, measurements of standards of living. Measurements of standard of living.
Was that the next subheading?
Yeah, so I'll repeat it.
Measurements
Measurements
of.
of standard of living. So next line 1, gross domestic product. Gross, Gross, domestic product. Gross domestic product. In brackets, you can put GDP, all capital letters, GDP. Dash. This is the total money. This is the total money value, the total money value of goods and services produced, of goods and services produced by the resources located by the resources located within a country over a period of a year, comma, regardless of ownership. So I will repeat that. This is the total money value of goods and services produced by the resources located within a country over a period of a year, comma, regardless of ownership, full stop. Okay, so did we label that as 1? Did we label that as 1? Gross domestic product, did we label that as 1? I just want to find out. All right, so you can label that as 1 because I'm not really getting a feedback. So you skip a line 2, gross national product. Gross national product. Now, if you're not hearing me or anything like that, you can let me know so that I can do some adjustment to assist you in any way. So number 2, gross national product. So it sounds almost the same. So be careful with what you're writing. Gross national product, in brackets, GNP. Dash. This is the total money value. This is the total money value of all goods and services. This is the total money value of all goods and services produced using resources only owned by residents, of the country, comma, wherever these resources are located. Comma, both locally and abroad. Both locally and abroad. Full stop. So you can skip a line again. 3, per capita income. Per capita income. So per would be P-E-R, per, one word, capita, C-A-P-I-T-A. C-A-P-I-T-A. Per capita income. Dash. To identify the per capita income. To identify the per capita income. Comma, the national income should be divided by the population of the country. The national income should be divided by the population of the country. Full stop. That is colon. That is colon. Next line. So this is written like a formula, GNP over population. Right? So like what you would do in maths or some other subjects, GNP over population. So of course, if you get a multiple choice question on this, you would replace the words with the numbers, okay? So per capita income is GNP over population. So you skip a line. This will be for physical quality of life. Physical quality of life index. Physical quality of life index. Dash. This measures the infant mortality rate, comma. This measures the infant mortality rate, comma. Pollution, comma. Literacy level, and life expectancy rate. And the life expectancy rate. So I'll read that again. This measures the infant mortality rate, comma, pollution, comma, literacy level, and life expectancy rate. Skip a line 5. Human Development Index. Human Development Index. Dash. This measure
Human Development
Index. Human Development Index, INDEX, dash, this measures per capita income, comma, per capita income, comma, inflation,
Miss, this measures
per capita income, per capita, CAPITA, per capita income, comma, inflation and literacy rate. Okay, so we're gonna skip about 2 lines, and another subheading would be growth and development. Growth and development. I want us to finish this part so that next week we will just have one more day of taking this note. All right, so we're not too far, sort of, we're not too far from finishing this part. So your next subheading would be growth and development. So skip a line, growth, growth. So you could underline or highlight growth, dash, or you can go to another line if you want to. The economic growth of a country, the economic growth of a country may be seen as an increase in the productive capacity of the economy. Full stop. So I will repeat that. The economic growth of a country may be seen as an increase in the productive capacity of the economy. Full stop. Same point. It provides a means of achieving higher living standards, for all as more goods and services are produced. For all as more goods and services are produced. Full stop. Same point, it is a quantitative change. It is a quantitative change. In the in the goods and services. I will repeat that. It is a quantitative change in the goods and services that are available for consumption. Full stop. New paragraph. So we're still on growth, right? Growth in an economy. Growth in an economy is not likely growth in an economy
I think repeat that please after consumption.
sorry, hold on. Right, so full stop. Growth in an economy. You're supposed to go to a new paragraph. Growth in an economy is not likely to be continuous for too long. Since there will be expansion and recession phases. Since there will be expansion and recession phases in the business cycle. Full stop. So I will repeat that paragraph. Growth in any economy. Growth in any economy is not likely to be continuous for too long, since there will be expansion and recession phases in the business cycle. Full stop. New paragraph. In the boom expansion period. In the boom expansion period of the cycle, comma.
Same paragraph?
No, next paragraph. So that, you know, when you're reading through or if you're looking for answers, it will be easier to find. So that is why I keep separating the work, right?
Yes, in the boom expansion.
In the boom expansion period of the cycle, comma, unemployment is reduced. Unemployment is reduced. Semicolon. With an increase in employment, comma, with an increase in employment, comma, output, one word, output, O-U-T-P-U-T, output and investments are high. Output and investments are high, full stop. Same point? Same point? There may be upward pressure. There may be upward pressure on prices and balance of payments deficit and balance of payments deficit.
Miss upward pressure.
Upward pressure on prices and balance of payments deficit. As imports are sucked in, as imports are sucked in by the high level of demand. By the high level of demand. So I will explain all of this in a while, okay? So we just focusing on getting the note down. So you go to a new paragraph. So we move into a new paragraph or skip a line in the recession. In the recession or slump period of the cycle.
Miss after high level of demand. Miss, that's repeating.
You're going to
Miss
a new,
after high.
yeah, you're going to a new
Okay.
paragraph now. You're going to a new paragraph. In the recession, or slump period, S-L-U-M-P, slump period of the cycle, comma, output is at least not rising. Output is at least not rising. And may even be falling. And may even be falling. Full stop. Same point. So you have full stop, same point. Unemployment is likely to be confined, to replacing worn out machinery, comma,
Miss confined.
to replacing worn out machinery, comma, with no increase in stock, or capital. Okay, so sorry about that. We just had a primary school child who got confused with the time. What was the last word? Worn out machinery? Huh? Capital?
Capital.
Okay, thank you. Full stop. The term negative economic growth. The term negative economic growth is associated with recession, with recessions, plural. I will repeat that. The term negative economic growth is associated with recessions. All right, so let us just take a look at growth first. So we'll take a few minutes break from the writing. So basically, if economic growth has to do with the productive capacity of the country, okay? It means how much things like foreign direct investment, how well we are actually utilizing our resources, etc. Okay, in terms of bringing in wealth into the country. Okay, so growth has to do again with wealth of the country, and it is related to standard of living. Remember standard of living from before, right? So growth is related to that because it is related to wealth, right? So how much foreign direct investment would be, how much like putting into foreign companies actually investing in our country, like coming to actually harness our resources or assist in harnessing our resources, or um, actually coming in pertaining to, it doesn't have to be for mining, like for oil and gas or anything. It could be for any other sector, like the food industry or clothing industry or what have you, okay? Right, so growth in the economy and even what we have in our economy, our natural resources and physical resources, how well we are actually exporting it to actually gain foreign exchange. So those things, those are some of the things that will create wealth, okay? Because the more of these things that are occurring, the more exports that we are having, the more foreign direct investment that is happening in our country, etc. How will that create wealth? Firstly, our country would be gaining more taxation from foreign companies, also from our nationals, because the more companies invest in our society, our country, it means that they would actually hire more people within our society. So that is wealth, right? People are becoming more wealthy. And with that wealth, they are actually paying more taxes, etc. Okay? Now with that, there would be more consumption. So more spending will be taking place. So that's the thing that is associated with growth, that more spending. So all of a sudden you would find that when we had our last growth that we had, so right now the country is in a recession. Okay, basically it is not, we can't really categorize it a full-blown, well, obviously with COVID, the whole world basically can be seen as a recession, but basically we are in a slump, okay, or a downturn in the economy, or recession. All of these words are associated with each other, okay? However, when there is a growth in the economy, as I said before, there's more money that is being circulated, more consumption because more people are being employed throughout the country, okay? This also leads to other things that could happen during a boom or expansion, which is a growth in the economy, right? So we call it a boom. So in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a lot of, in the past, people would say we have oil boom. So we are going through an oil boom phase because that is when we actually have a lot of income coming in through selling oil and gas, etc. Okay, and the prices are high and all of these different things, right? So when the prices are high, it means that we are making more money, right? So unemployment is reduced, employment is increased, but with that, that means that people automatically will start spending more money. So it has a trickle down effect. People will start spending more money. And with spending more money, that will create a problem in society, an economic problem in terms of pressure on prices. So that means goods will start to become scarce and prices will rise for goods, okay? It will also create a problem with a deficit. Um, the balance of payment it could create a deficit in the balance of payment. And next week's tutorial will be based on international trade, where you will understand better balance of payment. A deficit in balance of payment briefly would mean that we are actually importing more than we are exporting. So it comes as if you are living in a house and you are spending more money than you are actually earning, right? So in other words, what you end up doing is that you create a problem for your household. You end up in debt, etc. Okay? So this is what some of the things that happen. Now, believe it or not, some people have problems when we go into a recession or a slump period, but this is a natural occurrence in every economy. I'm going to repeat that, okay? This is a natural occurrence. So after a boom period, there will automatically, the society itself, consumers, workers, all these people who are making money will automatically drive the country into a recession, okay? Because what they would be doing, unless the government doesn't do things like the topic before we did, so it is related. Unless the government doesn't do things like implement more taxation to sort of cause people to hold back and pull back and say, okay, well, I cannot afford this vehicle, or I cannot afford to buy this particular food or clothes, or I cannot afford to do online shopping anymore or as frequently. I hope that you all are following what I'm saying, okay? So it is a natural occurrence, and that after a boom, as in the second paragraph, they say here, growth in any economy is not likely to be continuous for too long a period, since there will be an expansion and recession phase in business cycle. Okay, so after the boom, there would be a recession. And what will cause the recession basically? Of course, we have international things that will also can also cause a recession, because our recession, this last recession we are in here was basically caused because of the drastic drop in the oil prices, because of problems in the Middle East and all these different things. Okay, so and right? So, and certain countries are looking at alternative energy sources and all these different things. So there's a drop in the oil price. So that's one of the problems that caused the slump in our economy. And this occurred before, this COVID-19 situation. So COVID-19 didn't cause everything that is happening in the country. The country was already going through a recession before. All right. And of course, after a recession can be for years, but then there is expectancy that once the government handles things properly, it's like saying, okay, we're going to have a strict hold on this household. We're going to tie down and tie our belly, right? And say, okay, well, we have to make some drastic changes. And then after a period of time, right, the economy could possibly turn around back into a boom. All right, I hope that you all understand that a little bit. So give me a feedback if you all understand that a little bit, please. We only have 2 people in class, so yeah? You all understand?
Yeah.
Yes, miss.
Okay. Now, everything ties in together with topics that you did previously because taxation comes into growth and how it would probably try to keep a growth situation, or if we're in a recession, try to turn around this recession. So taxation helps with that. Okay, so it's like being a harsh parent. The government has to be like a harsh parent. And also when you did the banking sector or financial sector, or whatever the topic was, where we were dealing with central bank and all of that, central bank also plays a part in trying to pull back the economy, okay, by limiting what the banks could do, right? Like raising rates in the bank for loans, so that if you take a loan, you have to pay more money. So all these things would deter people, right? They can control credit unions, they can control banking systems and all these different things. They are also advisors. If you can recall from that topic, they are also advisors to the government. So they can tell the government how to proceed, or advise the government as to how to proceed in terms of how to make sure that we preserve as much money as possible in the country, or foreign exchange as possible in the country during a recession period. Okay, so everything is not, as people would say, basically, as a principles of business student, again, I keep advising students to keep up with current affairs, try to enlighten yourself, because I mean, you're a citizen of this country, and the way things are going, is better to enlighten yourself than to be some people who just assume things because they hear something on the block, they read something somewhere, or somebody say something and they feel, okay, we're going to invade the Red House or wherever it is these people is be, okay? Right, so we're gonna skip a line and we're gonna take our next heading. So we're going into development now. So your next heading would be development. So thereby, that is why we are doing growth and development, right? So this is development. So either you put a dash or you go to a next line, starting a paragraph. Economic development may be seen. Economic development may be seen as the reduction So I'll repeat that. Economic development may be seen as the reduction and eventual elimination.
Miss, you could repeat the whole, it cut off.
Okay. I wonder if I should change back my speaker, because you all hearing me clearly? I had changed it.
Monsieur, yeah, clear all the time, but just now it kind of break up.
Yeah, and the whole call just cut off and come back one.
Okay. All right, are you hearing me now?
Yes, miss.
Yeah, miss.
All right. So as a new paragraph under the heading development, so you have to have a heading development, and then you go to the next line to start a new paragraph. Economic development may be seen as the reduction and eventual elimination
Miss, as the reduction
and eventual elimination of unemployment and underemployment. Unemployment and underemployment, comma, poverty and the inequalities, poverty and the inequalities in the distribution of wealth and income. Full stop. Full stop. Continuing from that same point, in other words, comma, in other words, comma, development is the process, development is the process of improving the quality of life of the citizens of a country. I will repeat that. In other words, comma, development is the process of improving the quality of life of the citizens of a country. Full stop. Same point. It is a qualitative change. It is a qualitative change that impacts the well-being of the citizens. Full stop.
Miss, you could repeat that, please.
It is a qualitative change. Qualitative, Qualitative, qualitative change that impacts the well-being of the citizens. Full stop. This could be done by achieving growth. This could be done by achieving growth and increasing the standard of living. Full stop. New paragraph. It is possible for a country. It is possible for a country to experience growth without any development,
It is possible for a country
to experience growth without any development taking place. Full stop. Same point. There could be increased investment. There could be increased investment and productive capacity that generates more wealth, comma, but this wealth may not be used, in a manner that improves the quality of life of the general population. Full stop. Full stop. So skip a line as another subheading. Factors affecting factors affecting growth and development.
Miss factors affect
Factors affecting growth and development. Next line, first point. Next line, first point. Rate of investment. Rate of investment. Next line, next point. Rate of increase. Rate of increase in the working population. Next line, next point. Technical training and education. Technical training and education. Next line, next point. Government expenditure. Government expenditure. Next line, next point. Migration. Okay, so we will pause a minute just to take a look at development. So the heading for this part of the note was growth and development. So we know that growth has to do with wealth. However, development, as they say here, that a country could possibly experience growth without any development taking place. Okay, so basically, the government can make a lot of money, and at the end of the day is what they're spending it on, okay? Now, growth is related to quality of life, okay? And development is related to standard of living. So in other words, what are the things that were related to standard of living? Things like infant mortality, public utilities, education, electricity, potable water, right? Reduction in crime, healthcare, nutrition, all these different things. So basically what is being said here is that we can experience a growth for possibly 4 or 5 years, and the government did not take the opportunity to develop any of these things, to say, okay, well, let us improve WASA. Let us take WASA and make a total overhaul and fix everything that is wrong with WASA. Let us fix our roads and roadways, okay? Or let us improve the highway. In our country, they attempted to do so to get into Port of Spain, not so, right? By changing up some things, etc. All right? And basically, but what about the other things, right? In terms of quality of life, is there a lower level of crime, right? Healthcare, is healthcare improved? Did they build more hospitals? Try to improve the equipment, decentralize certain things, like if you have to get an x-ray or any other thing, blood testing, all these different things, do you still have to go to San Fernando or Port of Spain or Chaguanas or wherever? Okay, do we have good access to diet and nutrition, right? Particularly, or even right in the healthcare system, can people go in there and get access to information on how they can diet? Can they exercise? Is there exercise facilities that are government provided? What is the life expectancy? All of these different things. So it narrows back down. So we're pulling our topic again from what we did before, from our last topic, right, from the last couple of weeks, which is something on government, right? The one that already didn't do the multiple choice on, right? Social services, basically. Is the government actually using the growth and developing the nation by actually taking care of social services, right? And social services would be like education. Are they improving education, hiring more teachers, building more schools because the population growing, all right? Are they improving the schools that are already built, right? Improving the education of teachers, etc., right? Monitoring what is happening in the education system, etc. For healthcare, is there easy access to primary healthcare, which is primary healthcare is preventative healthcare, which is like the health centers, okay? Right? And all the different things that goes with it, like health inspection, taking care of businesses like in the food industry, is vectors they call them, right? These people who go and put rat traps and all these different things in different places, right? And for mosquitoes, spray for mosquitoes and all these different insects and all these kind of things. Are they actually investing in these things to make sure that we have a certain quality of life? Do we have proper drainage, proper roads and all these things? Or are we going to go from a growth, as we said before, because we know that after growth, there would be a slump? Are we going to go from a growth and say, okay, we buy all the cars we could buy, we buy all the vans, we build all the houses we could build, and whatever, people went crazy, they shop online, they do all these different things, and then all of a sudden things get bad. And when they look around, it's because the schools, right, the children's classroom are not air conditioned, the school roof leaking, they go to the health center, they can't get the medication they need. You understand what I'm trying to get at? Okay, so we know that after growth or after a boom, there is a recession. So what they are saying here is during the growth period, the government should focus on some form of development to improve the, we had quality of life. to improve the standard of living, okay? So you try to make associations with it and you learn up yourself, right? And that will help. We have one short note again, and then we look at the question. I want you all to be able to do, I don't know if we'll have time to look at the question. I want you all to be able to do, because I'm trying to provide a lot of information for you all as well, to do your questions independently, because the POB and now the social studies class have developed a dependent state where I give work, the work is not done, and then during class time, I come and we do the work in class, which is not a problem to do discussions in class and discuss questions in class and go through past papers. And of course, you will get a little hint as to how to answer your past paper questions. But it would be good if you all actually push and do as many questions as you can independently as well, right? So that will improve or increase your learning capacity for the topic, the subject, to be able to pass your examination. So your last heading for the day. Okay, so your last heading for the day, national income. It is very short. National income. I'm not too sure why this is separate from everything else, but that is the way the book has it. So you could go to the next line. This is the total money value. This is the total money value of all goods and services produced. Of all goods and services produced. Now again, just tell me if it is that you are not following, or if you need me to repeat anything, please. So I will repeat that. This is the total money value of all goods and services produced by the country over the period of a year. By the country over the period of a year, full stop. Full stop, same point. Income is a flow of wealth. Income is a flow of wealth, comma. Changing hands as output is produced. Changing hands as output is produced, comma. Then sold and then consumed. Then sold and then consumed. Full stop.
Miss, after produce,
Can you repeat that?
after output is produced.
Comma. Then sold and then consumed. So I'm repeating that. Then sold and then consumed. Full stop. So again, as normal, I would advise you to supplement your notes with reading from any POB textbook. Most POB textbooks, strangely, would be basically fairly good enough for you to actually do your reading from and try to supplement your reading. Reading from more than one source is always would always make you a stronger student, no matter what level of education you are at, right? So that would be the end of the note. On the Google Classroom, we have almost 20 minutes again. We'll just start to take a look at some of the questions. Next week, however, we would still be on social accounting and international trade. So we will deal with the international trade part, and that is a very short note. So that will give us time to possibly do some more, well, hopefully a short note, right? Yeah, definitely we will finish this next week. Right, and we would focus on more past paper question going into December. Going into December, after we do this topic, we will just be doing past paper questions in class. So at that point in time, I would not mind putting up like entire past paper, and we would be going through as many questions as possible, as quickly as possible, right? So I would tell you, like, after next week, to make sure you get all your notes. So when coming to class, well, I know you're at home already, but make sure that you have your notes with you, or you have a textbook and your notes, etc. Okay, so we're just going to take a look at the question. The questions are very much related to what we did last week. So the questions are fairly easy. Let me know if you can see the screen, please. Because we have had problems, I think it was this week, where students were not able to see the screen when using Kami, which is an app from the Google Drive. Are you all able to see the screen?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
Okay, all right. So they have here very simple questions. So let me tell all you, principles of business right now is one subject that's standing out from many other subjects that you have to really, I don't know what you have to do, like be very careless to come and fail. I mean, in the case of Rihanna, where you just joined the class, yes, it is a difficult situation because there's so many topics that, you know, you have to try and see how much you could read up on, do past papers and find, right? And find the related answers, etc. Right? But look at this question. State two differences between direct taxes and indirect taxes. Obviously, direct taxes is based on income, and indirect taxes is based on consumption. You all remember that from the last class? If you all need me to repeat that, please let me know. These are things that should be to the tip of your fingers by now. Okay? I would repeat that. Direct taxes is related to So direct taxes are levied on income and wealth. Indirect taxes are levied on consumption. What I would tell you to do for principles of business is to practice using examples when answering questions, because this is a 4-mark question. Okay, so you see that at the bottom there? This is a 4-mark question. All right, so that means that what I had typed up there would not give you that 4 marks. You all following me? Can I get some sort of response that you understand what I'm saying? So how do you get your 4 marks? You can expand on your answers by using and showing examples of direct taxation or indirect taxation, okay, and explaining your answers. All right, so what you need to do, this child always trying to get in the class early. All right. So what you need to do is to pay attention to your marks for each question, so you would know how much you're supposed to actually write. But down here, actually, they have list 1 example of direct tax and 1 example of indirect tax. Can you all give me an example of a direct tax? So I'm waiting. Can you all give me an example of a direct tax, please? Anybody? If you don't want to say it out loud, you could post it on the chat.
Miss, like property tax.
Like property tax.
Miss corporate tax will be one.
Yeah, corporate tax.
Miss VAT also.
VAT.
Value added tax.
Right. Right, so you all understand that. That's very good, okay? What about indirect taxation? What examples we have for indirect taxation?
Miss sales taxes.
Yes. I'm not too sure what you mean.
Miss VAT wouldn't be one there either. Or no?
Oh, shucks. Sorry. That's my mistake. VAT is actually an indirect
Mr.
tax.
VAT is indirect. Okay.
Afternoon. VAT is actually an indirect tax.
Miss service tax.
But is there
Miss service tax will be under which one?
that's like VAT. That's like VAT. VAT
Yeah,
would be
Miss.
Consumption tax here. What is a consumption tax? We don't, I don't know. I don't know. Who wasn't there? If it's Adria again. VAT is one and custom duties. So those are examples of indirect taxes, right? So what you need to do is to actually go through it and try to learn some, okay? And try to learn some. So property tax and corporate tax is direct taxes like levied on income, indirect taxes consumption, right? So, and then you have the examples. State outline 3 reasons why government charge taxes. So, of course, to pay for public utilities and social services, and all these different type of things. All of these questions can be linked back directly to your notes that was taken, that was given last week. Was it last week or week before? Right, so I want us to stop a few minutes because I have a little, before 5, because I have a little preparation to do for the next class that I have. So I hope that that's not a problem, but at the same time, I want to encourage students I want to seriously encourage students to try to do the papers, the multiple choice, try to do the past papers and send it in for me. Please, once I get it, I will correct it for you, okay? Right, so if you're having any problems or anything, let me know. All right, anybody have any questions before we finish class today? All right, so please try. I know every week I ask you all to try and still, but that's the most I could say, right? I give you the notes, I give you the questions that go with the notes, and I could even give you more questions, but you have to try to do the questions that are posted. Try to make the time to do it because they are quite simple, especially these past 2 sessions. The questions on taxation is quite simple and it is easy to just go back to your it is easy to just go back to your notes. All right, so I would leave you here, okay, and I will see you all. Today is Thursday. Well, I don't know who will be coming for English. Well, I know you, Ariana, you just doing POB, but we have English tomorrow, Tanil, in case you desire to come to the English class. And if not, I will see you all next week. Please, God, enjoy your weekend. Okay?
You too, Miss. Bye.
I think that's right.
Okay, bye. Good afternoon. We have a little problem this evening. I didn't prepare any work for it. So I will have to go down. Let me see who is in class with me. Jaylon? Jaylon, are you hearing me clearly? Because the last students had problems hearing. So I want to know if the problem is on my side or if it was on their side. Are you hearing me? Or Jaylon mic not even attached as yet? Okay. So